Hello people, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Bhagya and today we are gonna have a different kind of a video. Well, before anything, I am a PG aspirant and I have given my NEET exam in the 11th of September this year. And actually post NEET, I have asked in my Instagram about any questions if you have regarding preparation or anything that you want me to talk to, and I said that I'll be making a video, and it was around 15th or 14th of September. And I have got a lot of questions actually, and it took me quite a while to actually separate them and to actually think of how to make the video, because the questions are like they are separated between how I did it and how to actually do it. So I felt there were two different questions because everyone is different in their own preparation, and how I did it is my personal experience, and I couldn't tell any one of you to actually have to do it in this way, because there's no specific religious way of doing anything. It just depends on how and what works for you. So I am going to make this Q&A session into two parts. One part where I'm gonna talk about the generalized questions, and other part where I'm gonna talk about my experience and what helped me and what worked for me through my journey of about 15 to 16 months of my NEET PG prep. Also, we got the results recently, and there is a possibility of me getting a residency somewhere and joining into a college sometime by the end of the year. So fingers crossed for that. And without further ado, let's get started. So as we discussed, this first set of questions are around 10 of them, and we're gonna go through one each. And I have my questions here, I have written them all down, and I have actually segregated them into two parts. So the first question asks, which online study platform to study from second year of your professional exams? So usually in your UG. So first thing first, I have started preparing for my PG only after internship. Well, I did try to do some during my internship, but I think I didn't do some things which could have been helped me in my rank for me to get a better rank. But well, I have started my preparation in my post internship. So but what I would say is that it's really better if you started doing from the second year of your college, because first year everything is new to you. You have to get used to it, and you have to get used to the work, to study, and also to go about with the labs and all the stuff. By the starting of the second year, you get used to everything, and you'll know and you'll have an idea of what to do and when to do. But the drawback for me was that I didn't have any guidance regarding how to or where to or what to use at that part of time. And I definitely didn't know anything about Marrow or Prepler. I think they have came out a few years before. So if you ask me which ones to start, so if you have any offline class sessions, like the offline live sessions, like a classroom kind of thing in and around your city, like the Bhati or dams, if you have such things, then I would definitely tell you to go with them, because if you weigh out between online and offline classes, I would always go with the offline classes, because it helps you stay disciplined, and also you have a specific plan on what lectures have to be done that day. So if is a chance of offline classes like classroom lectures, then go for those. If you do not have that option, and if you are bent on doing any online platforms, I would say Marrow would be really good. Again, if you are starting from the beginning of second year, that is so much early in your prep, because then Marrow would be a really interesting source, because it has a lot of information about the lectures, and it gives you a really detailed description that you get used to all the basics and also the advanced things. So it gets really easy for Marrow if you do it from then. And also the Marrow has their inbuilt question banks and test series, and they have these specific time-based test series, so you get used to testing yourself out, doing the question banks, and you'll know the patterns of questions, and that gets really easy and useful to you when you get to post your internship or during your internship when you're giving your NEET PG exam then. And I think by the time, if you're second year now and you're getting into your final year, I think you'll be writing next. So yeah, I think Marrow would be a really better source. Also, I didn't use PrepLadder, so I could be a quite more towards the Marrow, but as much as I know, that's a really better source. But if you think PrepLadder is good, it's good too. But one thing, the basic thing is stick to one source and don't get mixing up with two or two different sources and then get confusing about or making a lots and lots of notes so that you don't have anything to do. And that means you become clueless at the end of the day too, which ones to follow and which ones to like shorten it up. It gets cumbersome at the end of the day, so follow one specific source. The next question is how many hours a day? So if you are studying, if you are in your profession, in your UG, like if you are in your first, second, third or final years, and how many hours you want to do, usually the most part of your day goes off for the class lectures. But even then, I think you should like study for at least 4 to 5 hours a day, with 3 hours giving to your professional to that year subject and 2 hours for the previous year subjects, because revising is really really important. If you are in third year, then revising your pharmacology, microbiology is really important, because they are very what do we say, because you cannot keep them for the longer time. And and even the anatomy pictures have to be repeatedly seen and repeatedly revised, so that's really important. So if you are studying, if you are doing your UG, then a minimum of 4 to 5 days a day is really important. And if you are post intern with studying at home only for the NEET PG preparation, then I would say a time between 8 to 13 hours would be the better time, because most of the because most of the time you are at home and you wouldn't actually count how many hours you are studying. I think it's easier to do up till 8 hours, but you have to like push through for 3 more hours, but not more than that, even though we have 24 hours. And if you take those 6 hours a day aside, I think we have almost like 18 hours to 17 hours. But I wouldn't say you to study for whole 17 hours. Give yourself some time, some break during the day too, and because you don't want to burn yourself out. So I would say something about 8 to 12 or 13 hours would be the perfect to study, even for like 3 months or 6 months time. If you have like for example, if we have if you're studying now, if you're revising now again, I think something between 8 to 10 hours would be enough, because you have already studied and you're revising and preparing for the next PG, which would be in March or so. So I think 8 to 10 hours would be enough. And that's especially why I'm telling you to be on the lower side, because being on a long term, like 3 to 6 months is some long term day. So if you are going to study for long, like 14 to 16 hours in the beginning, there is a chance that you're gonna get to burn out, and that might decrease your momentum. And also it kind of decreases your sense of studying in concentration, and that affects at the long term, during which is close to the exam, and that's really really dangerous. So that's what I always believe, and even suggest any one of the people who ask me like how many hours a day, do it on the lower side, do it from 8 to 10 hours, and then slowly increase and not go beyond 13 hours, because you don't want yourself to burn out at the end, close to your exam. Third one is studying during internship. So well, as I said, why I started studying during my internship, I think I did like 3 or 4 subjects then, but the major mistake I did is I did it through Marrow. And as I said, Marrow is really really an interesting and a really good source for me. In my opinion, it's a really good source when you are doing it from your second year of your college, but not when you're doing it in your internship or during your post internship, because it has a vast source and you don't want to like get all of it for your PG exam, because everything is not important. There's only few of the topics which are majorly asked, and you have to concentrate on those few topics. Like if you ask me, I have an example. Like I have done pediatrics and anesthesia and orthopedics too, I guess, during my internship. And the pediatrics notes which I have for during my internship, and the pediatrics notes which I have during my post intern Bhatia classes, it's like the my internship notes is like 10 times more. So we don't want such cumbersome notes when you want to revise it just before the exam, so it has to be easier. So my biggest mistake was I used Marrow source instead of going for a specific PG oriented one. And also the other drawback was that we didn't have that clinical based Marrow, that is which are usually intended towards the interns at that part of time. So if you are an intern, you could definitely study and also attend your NEET PG and then also get a seat. There are a lot of people who have done it. I think most of the times the NEET PG toppers are usually the interns. So I don't know how well they do it, but if but well, it depends on both most of the situations. One is this is the sources which you are using it. So as I said, don't use Marrow. Even if you're using, go towards the clinically oriented ones. They have this specific session there. And if possible, go for the offline classes of Bhatia or DAMS or anything. They usually concentrate on mostly the PG topic, so it gets easier for you to revise, and also it would be easier for you through the internship of 12 months. And the third is, it depends upon your college too. If your college is something where you have PGs and the workload is better, that meaning you get enough time of about 4 hours at least to study. I think you would 4 to 5 hours, I think you would be easily cracking the exam. But if your college is something completely relied on interns like our college where we are the first people which are exposed to the patients, and then comes the attendings, like we take the cases, we go through, find out what is happening, and then we inform the attendings then mostly during the night shifts and usually in the mornings too. And then you have the written work, the file work, and all of them. There's usually less time, and also during that time it gets your mind gets habituated that, well, we have done a lot of work today, that maybe we deserve some break, and usually that goes off and on and on and on, and that your studying time gets down. So it depends upon your college too, like if you can study or not. And most importantly, it depends upon how well determined you are and how well disciplined you are. The only thing I managed myself to complete 4 or 5 subjects from Marrow is because that I had made myself sorry, I have made myself a schedule of what to study, when to study, and at least do it at least 2 hours a day, even if I'm busy, or even if I'm just roaming around without any work that day. And also some days I have been carried away by the happy get-togethers and all this stuff. But well, again, maybe I do repent that I should have studied at least at least in my internship, so that I could have, and I could had upper hand on my recent NEET PG exam. But anyway, that's what you can do in the internship. Also, you can actually go for around 4 to 5 hours if you get, and and choose your sources correctly. And again, the one thing is, stick to only one single source, because we have a lot of resources out there that you don't want to confuse yourself and go on about and find out everything. Because trust me, I have chosen one source and I have stick to that one source. And I think I can say so confidently that every other source out there, every other platform out there is the same. And whatever you do, questions from Marrow or questions from Prep Ladder or questions from Unacademy, I have my notes from Bhatia, and it just helps immensely and equally. I mean, you don't have to like have Marrow notes to do the questions from Marrow. So, well, stick to one single source. So the fourth one is ideas on keeping your concentration and morale on track. Well, for this, I think, as I said, keeping yourself motivated, concentrated, it all depends upon how disciplined you are and how you stick to your routine. So the biggest part of you to sit down to study for almost 6 to 7 months is that you have to make a routine, and you have to make yourself believe that you're gonna stick to that routine, and you are going to complete the things on the day you have planned. That's really, really important. And I think more than putting more efforts on to stay motivated to watch videos on Instagram or YouTube on how to stay motivated or how to get motivated from people, I think it's better that you depend on yourself and look to it that you stick to a specific routine and stick to the timings. Actually, the first few days could be really tough, like for example, if you are planning on waking up by 6 o'clock and then getting fresh and giving some time for yourself up till 8, and then starting to study from 8 to 12 in the afternoon, you have to stick to that schedule. Initially it could be really tough, like it can get to 1 to 2 hours in and out, but you have to train your brain that this specific time is for this specific thing, so that it gets into a habit that by 8 o'clock your mind just says that it's time to study, and you get to sit down and study easily without even feeling the thing that why should I study every day. It's becoming like a daily thing, and it's becoming so boring. Instead of that, you get used to it, and you start to look forward to it, that you have to study so and so. And the second thing is, to keep on track, the main thing is that you have to set your goals. I usually myself, if you ask me, I used to set my goals in a staged manner. Like I used to set my goals for the whole 3 months, or whenever we had a date. And then I used to set my goals weekly, and then every day before going to sleep, even though if I write or if I don't write, before I go to sleep, I have in my mind what I have to do today. It's really important that you know that what you are going to do today. If you have a clear idea of your studying so and so subject in so and so time, it gets easier for you to wake up and to sit down and study that subject as soon as possible. Some days I get lazy about, and I used to not I don't used to think about what I have to do for the next day, and that day usually ends up with me being doing nothing and just Netflixing and or watching Prime or watching something else in the YouTube. So the second most thing which is important to keep yourself on track is to set a goal, even if it's for a single day. And it's really important that you follow it religiously every single day, to go before sleep to think about the subjects you want to study for the next following day, and how many things, how many subjects you want to do, or how many topics you want to do. You have to be specific, and you have to order your brain to do that specific thing. The specificity is really important here. Like for example, I want to do pathology tomorrow, and I want to do general and systemic pathology, general pathology in the morning and systemic pathology in the night. And then I also want to do 100 questions on pathology or 100 questions on microbiology. So this is the set of to-do list which I have put myself for tomorrow. So the next day when I wake up, I have this already in my mind, and I have already made my mind know that this and this set of time is for what to do. So usually my routine used to be like waking up and then doing my flashcards in first 1 hour. Immediately after waking up and freshing up and sitting down in my desk, the first thing to do is doing my flashcards. And then I used to do 100 questions of custom module, and then I used to start with my studying. So that way, so because I'm so used to this routine that every single day it just happens just like that, like a conditional reflex. And I used to complete one subject a day after lots and lots of revisions. But well, that's something you have to follow religiously, that you have to set your goals the day before night, not even the day or after you wake up. Just before going to sleep, you have to set your goals. And I think those two pretty much helps you like to stay there where you are and to improve your scores also. We'll going to the next question. This so for the next question, this question is something funny. Okay, I wouldn't say it's funny, but it's really important to avoid sleep while studying, because I think that is majorly problematic when it comes to studying in afternoons, mostly after lunch. It's really a tough thing to actually get through it. Initially I was like loading up myself with lots and lots of caffeine, and then I realized it's not about caffeine which is actually helping me stay awake after eating. It's about me, the work I have been doing to make that coffee. Like whenever I used to feel sleepy after at around 3 or 3:30, I used to get up, go to the kitchen, make myself a cup of coffee, come back, drink it, and then I used to feel good. So it took me like 2 to 3 months to realize that it's not about the coffee which is making me not sleepy. It's about the work which I'm making, which I'm doing it. Like Like I'm suddenly shifted from studying to going there and working on something else which requires most of my attention there, because studying for longer hours actually decreases your attention span. But since you are making yourself go up to somewhere else, it increases your attention span. And actually working on doing something like making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee actually attracts more of your attention, because it's something different which from which you're doing from since the morning. So that's when I realized that it's not about the caffeine, and that's when I switched back to tea, because caffeine is actually, it has put a lot of pressure on my brain and also in my health, and it has led to a lot of complications. And even now when people ask me how do you stay and study even in the afternoons and not sleeping while doing streaming too, the one thing I say them is just get up and make a coffee for yourself. And I say it truly that you have to get up and make up your coffee instead of asking your mom or your friend to bring it to you, because as I said, the work is important, not the tea or the coffee. The next question. So the next question is, when should you give your first GT? If you ask me when, I would say now, because if you like, GTs are something which acts as a measure of knowing how much you have prepared or how much you have worked and how much more you have to go through. Like there's no measure to actually say that you are working hard. There's no measure to work instead, unless if it is like weighing something or anything. So GTs are one good source that it makes you realize that how much you are working and how much more you have to put in your work in order to excel from something else. So if you are starting your prep in your second year, even if you are in a second year, or I think it would be better if the GTs work much more better if you are in your internship, because you have already been exposed to a lot of stuff here in your first 4 years, that you know better, or at least a little bit of all the topics, and you have touched all the topics. So if you're in your internship and you're starting your prep, you have to start your prep with your GT, so that you have a baseline of where you are, and then from there do your GTs every 1 month or every 2 months if you feel it good, or every 1 month if it is okay for you, or if you are finding time to do your GTs. And that helps you to see where you're going, if you're going up, you're going down, if there is any changes in your preparation. I think if you're starting your preparation in internship, you would have the time to actually analyze yourself and to analyze which methods are working for you and which are not, and to measure them in methods of GTs is really a great tool for you. And Marrow has this specific tracker there which actually tracks your GT in a graph for you, so you don't have to do any of it, and it will also let you know which GTs you have done better. So if you ask me, when you have to do your GT, you should start your preparation with the GT. I suddenly realized that I have been mentioning Marrow a lot in this video. I just hope sometime, somewhere, they just see this video and just try to, well, anyway. So that's about the GT. And I have another more question, whether you have to revise your GTs, and if you have to revise, do you have to put a separate book, or if you have to like just revise it and not have a notes about it. So one thing is, you definitely have to revise your GT, so that is because so you get to revise the questions twice, because when you're writing an exam, the questions feed in your brain, and when you revise your GT, those questions correlate with the answers which are correct, so it gets to retain for a longer time. Secondly, should you put a separate notes for your GT questions, or should you like just review it and not write it? You should definitely write those somewhere, but should it be in your notes or a separate notes? That question I have realized the answer for it very late, that you have to like, if you are reviewing a GT question and that question is obviously it's from your notes, right? So if you do not have that specific point in your notes, go to your notes and write it down just before the topic or just beside that topic, and don't make a separate notes for it, because it's really it's totally impossible. I mean, I wouldn't say impossible, actually it's totally theoretical that you will go back to read your GT questions which you have wrote down in a book. So it's better, since you will be revising from your notes again, it's better that you write down those GT question answers which you have made wrong just beside the topic you already have, so that while you're revising you can go through the question like, yeah, I have made this particular question wrong in a GT, and you would remember it, and that way the retaining would be more. Don't make a specific separate notes for it, just make it a point. And in fact, keep up a colored pen especially for the GT questions, like a pink or a red or a blue or a brown or something, so that wherever the colored ink is seen, those are the questions which you made wrong in your GT, and you have to concentrate more on them. And I think we are going to the last one for this day, because this is going to be a really longer video. So the last question is revising while doing a job. Well, for this question, I think I started working just 2 months before the NEET PG date has announced, and I wouldn't say revising would be easy while working, because when you're working in a specific institute, you would be the prime person there, that meaning you would be the first exposure there to the patients, and it's equal to working as an intern. I think it would be even more, because you are actually responsible to it, because now you are a registered medical officer and you have to take care of a lot of things. You have to talk to patients, especially in the institute where I worked. The patient, I'm directly exposed to the patients, and they have a lot of questions and you have to answer them, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of information from you. And coming back home and then sitting down and studying, I tried my level best to study for 3 to 4 hours, but that's it. You cannot study for more than that. So if you feel better, if you feel good about yourself, that 3 to 4 hours of studying is good for me, that I can study for that much of time and it would be enough for me, then I would say go for a work and do it. The advantage of working in an institute is that at this part of time, since NEET is basically focused on the clinical based questions, you will be more exposed to the clinical scenarios, and it would be easier for you to transition from directly from a hospital work to the NEET PG exam, instead of like sitting at home working on the theories and then suddenly going to the clinical based questions. So in that point of view, working is really good. But if you think that your preparation wasn't good and you need a lot of time to revise again, to revise it from the beginning, I would say I wouldn't say you that joining a job would be a better idea, because if you think that you need at least 8 hours a day to revise all the subjects for the next PG, maybe you shouldn't. But if you have given your exam in the last PG well, but you were just lacking in a little bit, then I would say go for the job and revise for 3 to 4 hours, and it would be enough. So that's it for today, guys. We still have a few more questions. I promise that I'll not lazy around and I will make that too in the next coming video, the next week probably. But I hope I have answered a few of the questions here, and I hope they are helpful. Do let me know if you have any contrasting opinions to me against whatever I have said, because, well, as I said, it's my opinion, it's my overview, and I think they could be contrasting, they wouldn't be. So I would love to know if there are any contrasting opinions of the situations which I have explained. And also do let me know if you want me to make any of the videos like this, or any of my experiences you want me to share. And pray for me that I get a good place somewhere in India and I can actually start my residency. I just really couldn't wait to start it, because I really miss studying. It's been almost a month now, and I didn't have a reason to study actually. Of course it might feel dumb, but I just want to sit down and study back again. I just really miss doing it, and I want to get those counseling done and go back to studying. So I'm just hoping it ends soon and I'll be back working and also talking to you guys, and would be happier. So see you next week, guys. Have a great day. Bye bye.